Sorry, I got these emails. Oh, I'm getting a lot more spam nowadays. Google
What's
Mail
this
is meant to be. I didn't sign up for anything, I don't think. Google Mail is meant to be really good at getting rid of spam mail. And yet, like, I've got like these emails like, Dear CVS Pharmacy Customer. In fact, actually, Dear CVS Pharmacy Customer.
Right.
You have been selected from CVS Pharmacy. Like, CVS is American.
Yeah.
So already fucking...
I got a Walmart one the other day. I was like, okay. Yeah.
I've been selected to get an exclusive reward up to 363 worth gift card. No currency. Just 363. Unsubscribe by clicking here. And what's funny is I don't even want to click the unsubscribe link because I don't trust that. Like me. Alex and Ted review stuff. But this week we are looking at the Netflix series Squid Game, of which we already talked about like the first 3 episodes, like a couple of weeks back. And now we've reached the point where we both have seen the entirety of the series, and we have some words to say upon it. And now is a good time to like reevaluate our scores. I don't remember the scores we gave last time, so
No, me either.
that's great. That means it's not going to be filled with any bias or anything. So we'll be able to definitively see like a change depending on how it was. And to those of you who haven't seen the previous time that we reviewed this and don't know what Squid Game is, maybe you're looking to like find some more information before you start on it yourself. To give a basic description, basically it's Korean, first of all, Korean produced. So you can watch it with the English dubs, you can watch it with the English subtitles. The premise is that in Korea, we meet a few individuals who are in egregious debt and are given a chance to win a large amount of money, for 45.6 billion won.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is in terms of like pounds or dollars. But basically, they're given the chance to do this by competing in a set of games organized by a society, which doesn't really have a name, I don't think. But basically, they have to compete in these games, of which they are just children's games, really. So they're all given a fairly equal chance of winning. But they also suffer a penalty upon losing, which is most of the time death. And it fits into that category of like Battle Royale and Hunger Games, this kind of dystopian situation where people are competing for their lives. And so, you know, survival is on the forefront of everyone's minds, as well as like, what's the word? Not partaking, submitting to the whims of those in charge, which makes it very interesting. To rock through the characters that we have the main character, which is Gi. I'm going to pronounce these names terribly. Gi-hun.
I think, yeah.
Gi-hun. The main character Gi-hun, who's a chauffeur. It says he's a gambling addict. He is a father. He also lives with his mother and often has to use her for support. And it's mainly his journey that we see. Spoiler alert. He's the one who survives in the end. He's the main character, of course he is.
Yeah.
But you also have other characters such as Sang-woo, who is, or Sang-wo.
I think Sang-woo.
Sang-woo, who is an old childhood friend of Gi-hun, a businessman who has also racked up a lot of debt. We also have characters such as, not Junho, Sae-byuk, who is a North Korean person who has come over the border and is trying to get her brother out of the orphanage and get her mother over the border, I think, as well. We also have the old man, who is like contestant number 1, who's in it, who has a life-threatening illness. Like, I think he's terminal. Oh, he has a brain tumor. That's it. It's a brain tumor. So you kind of like those things in the wind. We also have like Jok-soo, who is a mobster, who has racked up debt, just wants the money. Selfish prick. Minyo, who is I don't know much about her life outside of the game. I think she said she had a kid or something that she didn't name, but she's crazy.
Oh, okay, that's her. Oh, what's the other one called? The one
The
who
other one.
comes a little bit later. The other young girl.
Oh, Ji Young,
Right.
the one that gets released out of prison. Yeah, she's the one that comes in later.
Yeah.
And also goes out pretty soon afterwards as well.
Mm.
We also have some other minor characters, such as you have Junho, who we follow because he's trying to what do you call when you like
Infiltrate?
invade? That's it, infiltrate. Thank you. He's trying to infiltrate these games to figure out what happened to his brother, who disappeared a bunch of years ago.
Yeah.
We also I also forgot Ali Abdul,
Yeah.
who is he's an expatriate from Pakistan, and he has a family that he's trying to support, and he's a part of these games as well. And that covers all the main people, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also like some other minor people and people get introduced. So an eclectic cast, and I don't know about the thing is like the way we do this is like we talk about the plot and we talk about the characters individually.
Yeah.
I had a very interesting discussion with Tasha about this whole show. Because the ending, I'll get right into this.
Yep.
The ending, she said, didn't really solidify Gi-hun's character arc properly. His main drive at the very beginning is to be a good father, and at the very end, he's going to see his daughter, right, over in the US.
Yeah.
And he turns back at the last second to go take on this secret conglomerate society, the Circle Triangle Square Gang.
Yeah.
Also known as the Sir Tri-Square Gang. But like she said, that was not very good because it didn't. He should have gone to see his daughter. That was the whole point of him doing this game, and it kind of ruins his character. And I was saying, no, that's not true at all. It just like it kind of says that his story isn't done. Really, like I guess it sets it up for like a second season.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, like that character arc isn't the one that the season is trying to loop around and solidify.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think his main character arc for me is the fact that he's not money obsessed.
Right.
He starts putting money over everything. Like that's where he starts out in the season. And in the end, money means nothing to him.
See, I don't know if that's true of his like at the start. I think he's more invested in gambling. He sees the importance of money and how it can help. But his main issue is this gambling addiction.
Yeah, but to win money.
Yeah, but most people who get addicted to gambling aren't doing it because they want to win money, even if they win. I'm sorry, I think that's a very simplistic way of viewing it, though. Like, at the very beginning, sure. Like, everyone's motivation is based on that simple, like, greed of wanting the win, wanting the amount of money, even though at that point they don't know how much money they're going to get. They just have a piggy bank that's empty.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that motivates them. But this is what I said last time. It's like the second episode was really good at like slowing things down to actually strengthen the motivations behind all the characters. And the motivation for Gi-hun changed there, being, he could help the people he loves. He could help his mom who has diabetes and pay for her medical bills.
Yeah.
He can keep his daughter and those things. And if he doesn't, and he's stuck with this debt, living a life under his like having no respect for his mom and things like that.
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing, his mom's respect, which is why it hits him so hard at the very end, because when he comes back and she's dead, who's meant to be proud of him?
Yeah.
Who's he meant to like show that he succeeded to? Like his daughter? Yeah, but it's not the same as like your mom.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so much you could say about the end. Also, last time we discussed this, like we didn't know about Sang Woo, why he didn't tell anyone about
the shapes.
Yeah, the shapes in the second game. Like we couldn't deduce his particular reasoning, and it becomes more obvious as you go through, especially in like the 6th, the 7th, the 8th episode, the 9th episode, that Sang-woo is simply looking at the game as he doesn't look at it as he's got friends in it at all. He looks at it as simply something he must win.
Yeah.
He is detached from he's detached his emotional attachment.
Yeah.
He doesn't see Gi-hun as a friend, and well, he does kind of see him as a friend, but otherwise, like he's just aiming to win, and that's all that motivates his actions throughout the whole thing.
Which again is interesting with the parallel with Gi-hun because it's about his mother.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
put his mother's shop on the line.
Yes, so he wants to pay his mom back. He wants to support his mom as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good point. That's a very interesting parallel. You can see them as being like parallels of one another.
Yeah.
Because in the end, that is like at the end, they're the last two standing. Yeah. Their opposition is kind of like an interesting thing to look at, and like the methods they've got there. Gi-hun being very kind of, even though his life is on the line, he's somewhat been helpful. He's still retained like these principles of kindness and morality. Yeah. And Sang-woo has like completely separated them. And in the end, it's Gi-hun who wins. Though not even by his choice, which is intriguing, right? There's a lot you can say about this. See, when I was discussing this with Natasha, and she was saying about how the character arc didn't have a proper like finish loop. I was saying like the focus of the season is more an in-depth like look at like morality and like a test of Gi-hun's morality in a way. Like in the first episode, he feeds a cat. And for me, I was like, there we go. That's showing that Gi-hun is by nature a good person, right? So
pause for a second. On that note, the actor who played Gi-hun wanted to put that in. That was one of the fun little facts because he wanted to humanize Gi-hun. Otherwise, the audience might hate him. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. But continue.
I thought it was to help highlight the fact that he is a good person by nature, which is something that gets explored further in the games.
Yeah,
because he always has these sort of choices where he's pushed towards kind of like kindness. Although he also has this sort of sense of indecision. This is something that Tasha noticed. He isn't very good at making choices, which is funny considering he's a gambler.
Yeah,
he gambles, but he doesn't really gamble by his own kind of decision. He doesn't really make a lot of choices himself. You see that from like when he first bets, I think his friend suggests which one to bet on. And then when they're doing the honeycomb game, he can't decide whether to take the umbrella or star. So he offers to the old man which one to take. Later on in the glass stepping stones, he can't choose which number to take either.
Yeah.
So making these decisions is very difficult for him. And it's always pushed by other people. When he's trying to find someone to join that group for tug of war, I don't remember if he got anyone or who he grabbed.
The old man.
He grabbed the old man for that one.
Yeah, because
I thought the old man was already part of the group because they were like,
No,
you're thinking marbles.
Oh yeah, I am. Yeah, it's the white room.
Yeah. Marbles. Yeah. It's the one where he goes and picks the old man to be his partner.
All in one go, all right. It's all morphed into one long episode.
So yeah, there's this prevailing like feeling of indecision that occurs within him. Like he's not able to make these kinds of decisions, which then is interesting to see like how he then does start to make decisions probably after the games. The first decision that he does make for Deafin is when he gets his haircut.
Yeah. Radical change.
He gets red hair, which is, like maybe opening the fact that like he can now make decisions based off his own feelings now, his own gut. But yeah, so the original thing I was saying is like he has these like good principles that he goes with. They wants to that I feel like the games are kind of, I was saying to Natasha, there's like a kind of like he goes through these kinds of tests of his like resolve of his morality, and a couple of them he fails at. Right, he has he fails one test with the old man in marbles because he has an opportunity to screw the old man over by making him think that pick the wrong answer each time and therefore take all his marbles. He fails that test. He takes advantage of him, but the old man confronts him about it, and he feels bad, and he forgives him for it. Which is like kind of like a moment of like, kind of like a teaching moment. Like, okay, you failed this test, but that's okay. You're still a good person.
Yeah.
The second test he has is he almost kills Sang-woo, but he's stopped by Sabyok. That's when they had the knives at the end, like just before the last game.
Yeah, right.
And he almost goes over to kill him, but Sabyok stops him. So he fails that test as well. He has like a test of like morality in that sort of sense. But it's the final game where he has this like final test that he does succeed at, where he could win. He could win all the money, and he could have Sang-woo killed. And he doesn't. He chooses to try and end the game instead and have them walk away alive. And I thought that was an interesting kind of exploration. You don't usually see these kinds of like tests where people do fail in like their obvious principles.
Yeah.
Like most series or things, like when people try to test a person's resolve, they often make them obviously biased towards one side and therefore not really much of a test. But in this, it actually is a good one because he does fail at these. Then we see him develop to actually, have stand by his moral principles, which I think then feeds into the fact why he leaves. He doesn't go see his daughter, because now he's got these founded moral principles.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to just ignore the fact that these games are still going on. He's going to do something about it. He's going to run using his gut feeling.
Yeah.
Which I think is an interesting point to have about that character. I think that's his main focus. I think that's his main arc. It's pushing him through that and having him come out a good person.
Yeah.
Do you think the year of him not touching the money, it was founded?
Founded?
Yeah. Or unfounded? Do you think, like, do you understand it? Do you understand him taking a year not touching the money?
Yeah. It's blood money, right? He wanted to end the game. And I think by accepting it, meaning if he used the money, it would almost be participating in it, saying, like, giving into it and agreeing. And he's, as you say, the character arc of him gaining his morality and his stance, he didn't want to use it for himself.
That's a good point.
Although he needed to get out of debt, no? Otherwise he would get killed.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't explain that. I assume that probably he was able to hide from his debtors in a way.
I didn't know if maybe that was the hair thing.
Like, maybe.
That's the only thing that I was thinking, that like, it's all good and well saying you didn't touch the money, but the whole point was you would die if you couldn't repay the debt, and now you're staying in the same place and you haven't repaid your debt.
Is he still staying at the same place?
Yeah, because he was still with he helped, I don't know her name.
What's Sang-woo's mom?
No, like he helped her, but as in with the kid, the girl.
Sabyok's brother.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but that doesn't rely on him being in the same house. I thought maybe he might have moved or something.
Don't know. It just seemed like he didn't move, and then he was about to move, and then just go stop the games. That was just the one thing that I felt was lacking, because I agree with you completely. It's the whole character arc, it's all of that, but that took away that realism of like, no, there are people here that want to kill you. How could you move as well if you never took money? Like, all of the things you could have done.
Homeless. Did look a bit homeless.
But the heck,
maybe they didn't know where he lived because they only found him at the racetrack as well. Maybe he just didn't go back to the racetrack.
Yeah. See that if they said that, but it just, that was the one thing that I found frustrating. Actually, I found a lot frustrating.
What else did you find frustrating?
I got bored.
Which bit?
About episode 8. I think it was very interesting, actually, because the very first episode and then the second episode, I think because I had no idea what to expect, you're sort of in it and you're like, whoa, this is an amazing show. And then it felt normal. The games felt prolonged. it wasn't shocking that people were turning against each other. Like, I wasn't surprised as much. And I found that, okay, here's what I found disappointing. And this might be it, because it felt like at the very start, the whole concept was you can win. It's fair. You can win. And as the games went on, it was like, no, one person's going to win. And I just didn't like that. I was like, it would have been interesting that everybody could win.
Well, everyone could have won. I mean, they did cut, well, not everyone. Marbles would have cut down everyone by half.
Yeah.
Tug of War would have cut down everyone by half. But apart from those games, those were the only ones where there was an obvious winner and a loser.
But I think the Squid Game, I think the final one as well. Not everyone.
Oh, yeah, Squid Game as well. Yeah, there'll be a winner and a loser as well. But Squid Game can be played with multiple people. Like, if there were more people at the end, they could have all played and could have all won.
But then they would have just kept playing the game until I feel like they would have done. That's the thing.
They said 6 games.
Yeah, but you could keep playing Squid Game. That's what I meant.
How? Like one team would win.
Fine. Then they have to go against each other until there's only one winner, kind of thing, if that makes sense.
No, because throughout it all, they never said that there had to be one winner. It ended up in that case, but the possibility of
and the previous year,
only one winner.
They made it a thing that there was only one winner the previous year as well. They never made it there was more than one winner, and that was my issue. I really had a problem with that.
I don't, because it was more the circumstances that caused there to only be one winner. Like, I mean, right, just before Sabyok gets killed, there was 3 of them, right? So there could have been 3 people in Squid Game. One team versus another.
I just felt like there would only be one winner. That was what my frustration was. It felt like it got to that point. I mean, if I'm wrong, that's great. But I think it became like a known thing at some point when the VIPs were introduced that there would only be one winner.
That's strange that you felt that, because I didn't feel that from the VIPs at all. I mean, they're just betting. They're not betting on like a singular person. They don't necessarily need or want a singular winner.
But they were betting on a singular person. They were betting on one.
Yeah, well, I mean, betting, they probably could bet on multiple people if they want. Of course, it would be rigged against them. Well, you can bet on multiple horses.
Yeah, because there's one winner.
Yeah, so there's what
win.
No, but you could have multiple people win. And like, what about the games where there were multiple people winning them? Like the glass bridge or the marbles. Yeah.
It has to get to the 6th game. They can't just have one person through the last 3 games.
Could do.
That's what it felt like anyway. That's my interpretation of it.
It was upsetting for me to have it end up as only one person winning, because throughout it you have the hope. You know the main character is going to survive throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they're definitely going to survive. And so, but because you're given the hope that multiple people can win, you're hoping that everyone else who's supporting can get through it as well, which gives strength to the supporting cast.
Yeah.
All the other characters, Sangwoo, Sabyok, you start to feel strongly and you have more tension in regards to their fates, because you do have hope, but you also have that nagging fear that they could die, they could lose.
Yeah.
Gi-hun isn't. The rest could.
Maybe that was it for me, that maybe there was that point where it reached, and I think that was episode 8, but it's like it felt, no, they're just killing them off.
Didn't feel like that to me necessarily. I mean, well, you could see some people, you could see how they were going to die, but I guess attention was retained on how they perished.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the great things about Squid Game is that the characters all had very definitive characterizations and very definitive flaws as well.
Yeah.
Ali had his naivety that ended up in his death. Deok-su had his selfishness and his acts of betrayal that got him.
Yeah.
Minyo being too clingy, that caused her freaking death as well, I suppose, because she clung on to Deok. Do you see where I'm going with that? Sabyok being kind of a loner was her fatal flaw. She didn't want anyone to know about the glass shard, and that ends up, kind of securing her fate. And Sang-woo being completely dedicated to his cause and not letting anything get into the way ultimately was his death as well, because in the end, when he couldn't get the money, and if he was either going to die or walk away with nothing, he was going to take it into his own hands and just off himself at that point. He was just completely driven to that one thing, and if he could not have that thing, then there's no point.
Yeah.
And probably better to die by your own hand than being shot in the head.
Yeah.
And so, because all these guys have these characterizations, but you also sympathize a lot with them, especially after like the second episode where you learn a lot of backstories and stuff. And as you develop through and you have these relationships built up, like it then becomes much more emotionally hard-hitting when they start dropping like flies and not even succumbing necessarily to the games themselves, but succumbing to, in fact, all those people died by other people's hands. Saebyok died by Sang-woo, Deoksu died by Minyo by herself, Ali died by Sang-woo, Old Man died by Gi-hun, sort of. And so, I mean, that's one of the things that makes this good as well. It's like Squid Game. It's like they are like truly equal like games. It's not like you're not pressured to go kill each other. In fact, the Marbles game, they say no violence is meant to be used, but people turn towards that and they knew it was one of their only ways of survival, especially Sang-woo.
Yeah.
Killing the glassmaker. Poor guy. What do you think Il-nam is Old Man? What do you think the old man's motivation was for speaking to Gi-hun after a year?
I think he felt connected to him because of his humanity. I think he must have been one of the only players who actually didn't want to harm people. He was there to help him. Like he was always on his side, what kind of thing.
That's an interesting thing for him to connect to, because Il-nam is the one who set up the game. So does he really have a sense of morality?
But I think that's it. I think when you have a terminal illness, your perspective changes slightly. And I also think that I found it interesting because he was less compassionate than I thought when it was revealed that it was him behind it all.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised at like how cold he was. I that was another slightly disappointing interaction for me. I expected there to be some kind of redemption arc of like, people are rubbish, but this is what I thought was okay, sort of thing, giving people a chance to win money, or I don't know. I expected something more from that interaction. It just felt long and a bit empty.
What do you think the meaning behind the bet was?
About that man on the street.
Yeah.
The meaning behind it.
Yeah. Why do you place a bet on that?
Predictable.
Right.
Is that what you mean?
I don't know. I'm asking you your opinion.
But as in, what do you think the meaning is? Like, that's what that's why I'm leading with that, because for me it just more felt like he thought people are predictable.
I don't know. I don't think Il-nam bet. I don't think he bet thinking he would win. I think he bet thinking he'd lose. I think he put himself in a situation where he wanted to lose to give Gi-hun faith again, because he recognized that Gi-hun hadn't used the money at all. And I think there is some sense of morality involved with the principles of the game, in the fact that like they offer it to people who are severely in debt and it could change their lives. I mean, there's one essence where it's also people in debt are very desperate, so they'll be willing to go through anything.
Yeah.
But also you can change someone's whole life by giving them that amount of money and change what they do with the world. And I think there was some semblance of that, even though not stated by what he was saying. I think by the bet, it was saying like, there is good in people. We can trust them.
That's interesting. I honestly got the complete opposite.
I mean, the thing is, like, Gi-hun didn't trust anyone. After Sang-woo was like a betrayer, it's part of like what I think caused him to be like in this sort of traumatized state is that like he lost this kind of sense of trust because he saw what people were driven to. And, you know, everything that he did with the principle of good behind it and all these people who did terrible things, like how could he trust anyone again? And so having that bet, like, because Il-nam chose to bet that no one would help him, Gi-hun had to bet that someone would, and thereby seed in that little bit of faith again, which then brought him out of that like traumatized year and allowed him to go out and do the good that he probably originally would have if he had just been given like the money at the very beginning. Well, no, actually, if he would have won the money with Saviok, for example.
Mm. Yeah, you're right, because he got his hair done afterwards.
Yeah.
Mm.
And plus, Gi-hun says if the old man loses, he's going to kill him.
Yeah.
And Il-nam dies at 12:30 on the dot, which is kind of like he knew.
Mm.
Then again, he can't have known until Gi-hun said that. It wasn't part of the original stipulation of the bet.
Yeah. But the guy wasn't helped, was he?
He was. The woman passed by him, like tried to talk to him at first, couldn't get a response, left him, and then came back with a police car. But Il-nam had died at that point. And so Gi-hun says, I hope you saw. We don't know. We don't know if Il-nam saw or not. But I think that's the point. I don't think it mattered if Il-nam saw or not. I think it was important that Gi-hun did.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, now you've made it feel like a less empty interaction. So thank you. Because I really didn't. I was really disappointed in it.
I think Il-nam is more complex than it gives out. Like, he's involved in the games because he wants to have fun doing it. But there are a few moments when he could have died.
Yeah.
And like, he wasn't like, I don't think he was like emotionless.
No, see, I felt that through the series. Like, and my other issue is in a show that is as violent as Squid Game, you don't see a dead body, they aren't dead. That's like my thing, which brings me to the detective as well, because yeah. And that was the thing when you didn't see him get shot. I was a bit sus about player one to start with. I felt.
Right. Really?
I know. Now here's the issue though, because of spoilers. You see stuff on the internet and you have no idea if it influences the way you watch it. You like to think it doesn't. But then you also don't know. But it was odd that there was somebody so much older, so frail, but actually clearly with it. Like even with the marble game, you knew he wasn't forgetful. Not for a really.
Yeah, I was fooled.
See, not for a second did I think he doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
So then the fact that you don't see him get shot, it's like, okay, but we've seen everybody else die.
You don't see Ali get shot, do you? You see his dead body actually.
This is the thing, I was like, I think we see every death, basically. It's just they gave like respect to the supporting cast that you don't, it's not as graphic as some of the others.
Yeah. Like Chi Young.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the thing that I felt. But that's what brings me onto the detective. You don't see him die. He gets shot in the shoulder.
He falls, and that's it.
And I get that they could bring him back for season 2, but it more felt like they just weren't sure what to do with him. Like that, as in they might not bring him back for season 2 because it's not been written yet, presumably. So it's trying to figure out what they want to do and what will be good, because I think the writer of this wrote Squid Game years and years ago. So if you don't have a season 2 in mind, you don't really know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
So it felt like they did that to leave it open.
Yeah, you know what? I wasn't actually too fond of Junho's plot line. Like, it didn't really achieve anything in the end.
Yeah.
And it created some moments of tension, sure. But in the end, there wasn't much to that story apart from showing that it had been going on for years. That his brother, who had partaken in the game, was now like the front man.
Yeah.
So it raises a lot of questions about the games.
Yeah.
But it doesn't finish like that sort of like, it doesn't really finish that kind of line of thought. It kind of like dabbles with it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think what they've done there is to bring it back in season 2 potentially. And I think the reason is, as the viewer, I felt that they put the detective in there to give us a sense of hope. That you think, oh, are the police going to stop it? You know how like whenever you watch a series or a film and there's like something that's been going on for years, it always happens that something massive changes. So be like, oh, is this the year that the police find out about Squid Game? Is this the year that everything gets shut down and we see it all unravel? And actually it's always contained, and I liked that part of it.
Actually, that's a very good point. I do like that. We've not seen Squid Game being taken down. No. We've just seen another run of it.
Yeah.
One of its many runs. It's kind of like an introduction to the fact that it exists.
And I thought that that's really interesting because that also dabbles in this wealth factor of the wealthy can always get away with it. Because the detective gets so far that you think it's a done deal. Like, it's done. He's going to be the Squid Game. Like, the ending is going to be the detective bringing the police. That's what I felt like when they introduced the detective.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, he's doing it, and he just gets more and more and more information. You're like, oh, brilliant. But then when they shot him, I was like, oh, you're doing this because he's probably not dead, but you want us to feel like he's dead. And then it's like, but he's probably not. And then you see a little bit more of the brother later, I think, in the last episode. Where he's like, I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, so this is for season 2, most likely. All right. I get it. Can we finish season 1? But I do disagree with you that it's so interesting. This is, I think, one of the first things we've almost disagreed on every single point. Like, you didn't like his plot line. I really liked his plot line.
Right. That's okay. Sorry, we have different opinions.
No, it's good. I like, it's interesting. It's just like really interesting because then we're like, yeah, and now we're like, no. I was going to admit this actually because I should have admitted it in the recording that I watched the English dub.
I don't know if that's any better or worse.
I think worse. I think you lose just that bit of authenticity. And that could be that big difference between like really being immersed in a TV show or just being aware, just that little bit that it's not quite right.
Yeah.
But you just okay. All right. People don't speak like that.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, like using the subs. I elected to use the subs because you keep like the emotional, you keep the lip sync, you keep the emotional integrity of like the characters.
Yeah.
When someone's yelling and it's dubbed, it feels weird.
Right, and that might have been it for me. That as it got more intense, it felt off, and there's a very good chance that it could be because I was watching the English dub.
Yeah.
Are you still recording this? Are you still recording this?
Oh yeah, I am still recording this.
It might be worth them putting just that bit in because you and I have different opinions.
Yeah.
And a part of it is I watch the English dub, you watch the English sub.
Yeah, that might be worth putting at the very beginning.
It would be quite interesting to see if that was actually why we drew different things from it.
No, you're right. I'll move it up. I'll chuck it in the middle.
Thank you.
I would have to find something to chuck at the beginning and something to chuck in the middle as well. So.
Yeah. No, thank you.
You like the interludes I do? In the episodes when I edit them, do you like the starting interlude and the middle interlude?
I haven't watched them.
Oh.
I've watched one. I know I'm being really bad. I'm like, have you watched my cooking video? No.
I feel like there's significance in the numbers they're given. I thought there's like some significance. So like 456. Gihan's 456. When he wins the money from the racehorse, the race betting, I think he wins like 4.56 million.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say apparently they did a few things like that, lots of Easter eggs.
Oh, okay. You looked this up, did you?
Well, I watched a couple
so yeah, 456. Also, him being the last player, like the last one who joins the game and ends up being the last one standing. That's what someone said. Number one, of course, because he's the first one. He's the origin of the Squid Game. Therefore, one makes sense.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out if there's any other significance. One conception I had. Minyo's number is 212, right? And this is a bit of a stretch. But 212, right? Starts with 2. She wants to join up with Deoksu. They make 2.
Yeah.
Then it turns to 1 when he betrays her and she's left on her own, doesn't join him, and ends in 2 where she grabs Deoksu and goes to her death. So I thought that was a nice kind of like, oh, maybe they did that on purpose, or maybe it's just a random number. But
no, but it's nice to find meaning in things, even if the writers didn't necessarily intend it, or the creators, I should say.
Yeah. Okay, what were you going to ask?
I was going to ask, episode 2, what I found out afterwards is it foreshadows every player's death.
Does it? How?
You're going to have to help me with the names because I don't know.
Okay.
The girl, Saebyok, she holds a knife to a guy's throat.
Right, okay.
And her throat gets slit.
Ah, okay, interesting.
The mobster guy,
Deoksu,
he jumps off a bridge.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. To escape the mobsters, yeah.
The childhood friend,
Sangwoo.
How can I forget Sangwoo? Anyway, he wants to kill himself. He ends up killing himself.
Yeah.
What
about Ali?
Ali, that was it, because I had to look this up because I saw that and it just didn't make sense to me. So like look it up again to be like, I don't get it. The guy drops the money, his employer, and he takes it and runs off, which is effectively what Sangwoo did to him.
Oh, yeah.
Took on the floor and
he left the guy with his hand in the thing.
Yeah.
And runs off with the money.
Yeah.
Kind of like a bit of like a betrayal. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that kind of works. I see it.
So that was kind of interesting that episode, not only do we find more about the characters, it actually did foreshadow what was to happen to them.
Very Edgar Wright.
In regards to player number 1, apparently, if you rewatch it, which I haven't, so I can neither confirm nor deny if this is true, but you can see that actually, like in the first game, red light, green light, the guy, they don't lock onto him.
Yeah, I read that as well. Yeah, I didn't see that. I didn't click that. So I need to, if I rewatched it, I think I would see that again. Yeah, that's also a good point. Yeah, so it does give a clue into like the identity of Ilnan at the very beginning.
Yeah. And the final thing, set design. We spoke a little bit about it in the last episode.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sure. What do you want to bring up about it?
The games being on the wall.
Oh, yes.
I love
so much that. And it's all hidden by the beds and the bunk beds and stuff until like the final game, where then you can see them all.
Yeah.
So does that mean they knew they were pre-planned beforehand?
Yeah. And the players could have seen it. Because it's like, it wasn't hidden, if that makes sense. It's like, you just wouldn't think to look.
Yeah.
And that was it. And they kept that sort of childhood thing. What did you think about the VIPs, actually?
What did I think of them?
Yeah.
They were just generic, wealthy Westerners, it felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people have been saying like the acting was terrible and the accents were like, the dialogue was terrible. And yeah, in some cases, the dialogue was terrible. But I put it down to the fact that like, it's a Korean production. They're writing foreign dialogue.
Yeah.
And so I could empathize that, it's difficult and it wasn't really that important. It's not as if the dialogue held any critical pieces of information. It was more just if they had the subtitles for like the Koreans on that English, I bet they would have read pretty pretty generic, but good enough,
I actually liked the acting.
Oh, really?
And the acting was bad, but it almost then felt real. If you think about how detached they are from society, there's this side of them that you're like, what? But that's the point. They're betting on people's lives for fun that you're like, do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
So I actually felt like it fit in quite well, because there are just these characters that are almost ridiculous but hold this level of power, and then there are people fighting for their lives, having search into the core for who they are. And it goes like, 69.
I mean, that made me laugh. Go for 96. Why? If I got 69, I go 96.
But that's what I mean. It's like they're just completely detached. You would expect wealthy businessmen or rich people to just, I don't know, behave like that.
Yeah. Sorry, I just because I have much to say on it, really. No. Yeah, the VIPs were just the VIPs to me. They weren't that integral. They were like a motivation for why the games existed, and that was it. It was not like some greater plan, and in a way, that's kind of nice, right? A lot of these stories which involve survival, by survival through a game for elitist amusement. You look at the Hunger Games, where there's a lot of focus put on that aspect, and in this there isn't, because it's secret, it's not well known, and it's also been going on for so long. It's just part of it. There's not a lot of focus on it. Of course, it's just oligarchs betting on the lives of people. That's not the important thing. That's not what the story is really about. Squid Game is not about the actual society, people doing it. It's about the people who were involved in it and how they were affected. How they changed. So I think that's why I don't put much credence on it. Although I did read some people saying there's some significance to the fact that parts of the furniture were these mannequins, were people.
What did you read the significance was?
The fact that using people are just objects. That kind of concept. That's that's pretty much the gist of what I got. Which it's an interesting aesthetic, creepy. So.
It was a bit odd when I saw it. I was like, But you see, these are people that are just used to getting what they want, and they don't really care about people.
Although I did laugh about the guy with the deer head. Right. He was lying on the sofa on his back. And I was saying to Sasha, he can't lie on his side. He has to lie on his back. That would just be the most annoying helmet to wear, because they're antlers. He has to lie like that. Sucks. If you want to watch what's going on and lie down, he's not going to be able to do it properly. He's going to have to lean on his hand or something. You can't just lie back. Silly choice for a hat.
Definitely.
Weird how they had all those silver masks though. Masks seem important. Mainly just for disguising, I guess. Identity.
I think that's it. I wish they went into why, how they got so many workers. I do wish that that was something they did, because it felt like that was gonna kind of be important. And then it was just sort of abandoned again.
The first reveal they did of someone behind the mask was just, it's a person. And that's it. What was the significance of that? Just to show that they are people and they are putting them through this with no emotional reaction. And then we do see a bit of humanity in them when they're trying to make some extra money by selling organs. And they get killed for that. So what is their deal?
I reckon that maybe it was written in and then written out for if there's a season 2.
Maybe.
like if you can't, because apparently the guy originally wanted it to be a film, but said it couldn't actually be a film because there was too much to put into it.
Right. Yeah.
But man, I just love the set design like that. I thought it was very aesthetically pleasing, and the comedy bits were funny. Like
Comedy
with the
bits.
music, yeah, like you're in like a death game, and there's like funny music playing. And you're like, what? Like to just ease that tension just a little bit.
The pathway to the game arenas is interesting because it's very MC Escher style.
Right.
I do like MC Escher. You know MC Escher? He's a famous artist. So I think he was part mathematician. He did like not necessarily optical illusions, but sort of. He did very abstract artwork. So he did the Infinite Staircase. He did the picture of like it was like a room with stairways and doorways opening up to balconies and people walking in all different directions. He did the fish that turned to fish that turned to birds, and a few other things as well. Yeah. He's quite famous for it. Oh, I think he also did the Infinite Triangle, the one with the blocks and stuff.
Right.
So, yeah, one of my favorite artists. So that appealed to me.
Oh, I think I saw in one of the interviews that they mentioned the fact that it's when at the start of the game you just see these stairways filled with people. Not CGI. Also, they're all real people. They had 456 people, which is pretty cool. But then how eerie it is at the end when it's just the two of them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very eerie.
I think they put so much thought into the set design and the visuals of this that it's like very impressive. I just don't. It looks like PlayStation symbols.
Everyone feels like that, but there's still no cross. So.
No, well, exactly. That's the thing. Like, it's one of those funny things that you can see what happens when somebody comes up with. They're brilliant. It's because it's the circles that make up the Squid Game. I know there's a triangle and a square too, but as in the shapes. That's the word. But then to us Westerners, it looks like PlayStation.
Yeah. Although Squid Game was mainly popular in the 70s and 80s, so maybe it wouldn't have resonated with the modern crowd either.
True.
Yeah. Maybe they did choose it knowing it would have some relation to PlayStation, because then it also fits in as well. It's a game. It's kind of like, well, not a childhood, but like a kid's game.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to bring up or talk about?
No, I think ready for the rating.
All right, you want to go first or shall I?
I'll go first because I think mine's going to be worse than yours.
Yeah, definitely.
A 7.
7.
And yeah, a 7. I couldn't give it more. I wouldn't give it less because that's not fair. It didn't feel like an original concept, actually.
Okay.
Which I was a bit gutted with because it felt like it at the start, and then the more it got into it, I was like, it sort of feels like other things I've watched. And then, as I said, it's the same. Yeah, it's just the same bits that I didn't really like at the start. It's that it feels unfair at the end. It feels like they left some gaps, which are a bit frustrating after like 9 episodes. Yeah.
Okay. I'm giving this a 10 out of 10.
Really?
I totally recommend it. I recommend it to everyone. Even gets my own personal curious. Gets everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
At the end of it, I was kind of lost for like a good few minutes. Like I had to really like pull myself back into reality because I was really lost within the story.
Wow.
Which is hard for me for films to do. Well, for anything to do. And it just took me. Like, also, like, I don't like Hunger Games. I at all don't like it. I don't like the concept. I mean, like when I first heard about it, kids killing each other. That threw me. That was the thing that put me off totally. And then like the more I hear about it, I've not even seen the films. I think I saw the first one, and I don't want to read the book. I think I tried to read the books, but like it felt flimsy, and other films, like other like concepts like that, where like there's multiple people being killed or being forced in those kinds of situations. Like, I've seen saw that online, which don't necessarily it doesn't necessarily require people dying, but they're in like a life and death situation playing a video game.
Yeah.
I've seen that quite commonly, but for this, I think it deals with the concept so well because it decides to focus entirely on the characters rather than the actual circumstances of how they got in there. And it does it so well. I think it actually does an incredible job of dealing with people's morality and the things that the lengths that people go to preserve themselves.
Yeah.
And deals with those concepts, those flaws within us that ultimately lead to our downfalls.
Yeah.
And I think that's all the reason to give it a 10 out of 10. There's some things I don't like, but it doesn't matter. I think they pale in comparison to how much I really do love it and how much I would probably even watch it again if I wanted to. Not soon, in a while. So 10 out of 10. And curious, because like I say, it deals with a lot of it's curious to think about, like, you know, these concepts, like I said, like, you know, how standing by your principles and such, and how that's affected by these life or death situations. Like I said before, there have been, like, I think a lot of things that tackle these kinds of questions where you put to the test against like your principles.
Yeah.
They don't often let the hero fail, or they are so easy that it's crazy if the hero were to fail them. And in this, he actually does fail. And it's brilliant to see. It gives proper depth to them. And the outs that he gets aren't Deus Ex Machina. They are part of his development.
Yeah.
So I love it. Thank you for listening to Alex and Ted Review Stuff this week. Join us next time when I'm going to take an umbrella outside whilst it's raining and see if I can get struck by lightning twice. Just to see if I can. There's not much more to that, really. But I'm sure it'll be interesting to watch. And hey, you guys at home can place bets. Will I get struck by lightning once? Will I get struck by lightning twice? More than twice? Or not at all? I'll give you good odds. So don't worry about it. And also, I'm willing. I'm not being forced into this. I could cast a vote to say that I don't want to do it anymore. But I'm not gonna. We're gonna see how it goes. So join us then. And in the meantime, like, comment, subscribe, share, all that kind of stuff. And also, good night, and thanks for listening.
Nice. I just couldn't watch it again. I really found myself getting bored.